The fear now that animals may be put down has animal rights groups sinking hundreds, even thousands of dollars into emergency vet care for injured animals rather than turning them over to the city. Here's a look at the numbers now. In 2014, more than 1,900 cats and dogs were euthanized at Detroit Animal Control. 339 animals were returned to their owner, and just 135 were sent to the Michigan Humane Society for adoption.
Joining us now to talk about all this, Courtney Pratt-Sanders with Michigan's Political Action Committee for Animals, Kelly Labonte with the Detroit Animal Welfare Group, also known as DOG. Also, we're joined by Detroit Police Assistant Chief James White. DPD oversees Detroit Animal Control. And first of all, Assistant Chief White, the average kill rate for Michigan shelters is about 27%. By some accounts, the city's is more than 3 times that. Why so much higher?
Yeah, well, certainly we want to get that number down. The kill rate is higher than we would all like to see it. Unfortunately, though, a lot of these dogs and animals, or dogs and cats that we're coming into contact with, they're coming from really bad situations,
So are you saying that you feel that there's no other choice but then to put these animals down?
Well, it's a very complicated process, and the numbers alone don't tell the story. For example, by way of example, when an animal comes into our control, there's a 4-day process where we try to get the dog adopted out. We do check them, or we scan them for microchips, and we try to contact an owner. And then we notify Michigan Humane Society, which comes out and does an assessment on the animals to determine whether or not the animals are suitable for adoption. If they're not suitable for adoption, then a decision is made at that time based on temperament, based on the animal's regression as to the disposition of the animal. And as I indicated earlier, unfortunately, some of the animals are in fact euthanized.
Kelly and Courtney, we're going to bring in this conversation right here. You're hearing the Assistant Chief go through their process. Obviously, somehow private shelters have gone beyond that. You've got the number way, way down. So why can't the city do that also?
Well, it's not just private shelters. Public shelters are able to do it as well. And there are programs in place that get a save rate up to 90% or higher. And we think that there's absolutely no reason why Detroit Animal Control can't do it as well.
What would you like to see them, how would you like to see that done?
First and foremost, you have to have a compassionate director in charge, someone who understands these programs and is innovative and creative. We can't just do it the way we always have. You have to have a robust adoptions program, which right now Detroit Animal Control does not have at all. You have to have a volunteer program. No shelter, private or public, can function well without a robust volunteer program. There are roughly 10 programs, and only 10 programs, that will help take a shelter up to a 90% or higher save rate.
Let's talk about a petition drive that started this week here. The goal is to have Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan shut down animal control and replace its director, Henry Ward, by this petition drive that's out there. Just 5 days, more than 11,000 people have signed on to that petition. Need a few thousand more before they hit their goal. Kelly, what do you think about this idea of forcing the city to change?
Well, it's obviously time for change. If you look at the 2013 statistics, 5,000 animals were killed in that facility. It's not a shelter, it's a euthanasia facility, and it's time for change for our animals. Many of the dogs that are on the streets of Detroit are very adoptable dogs, and we've taken in over 1,000 personally, and all of them have been rehabilitated and adopted. So there's absolutely no excuse for any of these dogs finding good homes.
Assistant Chief James White, your thoughts on that petition drive and replacing the director?
Well, I think the problem is bigger than replacing the director. I think the problem is the number of dogs that we have around the city of Detroit, the number of stray dogs that we have, and in addition to that, I think that we need to talk about the types of animals that we have roaming the streets. Not all these dogs are adoptable. Now, certainly, as recent as today, we had a meeting with one of the groups, Detroit Animal Rescue, or Detroit Dog Rescue, in a very encouraging meeting. We talked about solutions. We talked about what we can do going forward and how we can partner with these groups. Obviously, there has to be rules in place, such as licensing for these groups, so that we're working with a group that's licensed. We're working with groups that are actually working with a particular protocol to help us resolve the problem. But I don't know if it's as simple as replacing the director or certainly taking a position based on sheer numbers. You have to look at all the issues involving the animals.
Yeah, Kelly and Courtney, I'm going to throw that at you right there. I mean, he brings up a good point. So instead of just going after the director, is there anything you can suggest that the city can do right now with its processes that would start that number going in a direction that's more favorable for you?
Well, we're very encouraged because we also heard from the mayor's office just today about a coalition being formed in the next couple of weeks where we can sit down and talk about solutions, because that is where our focus is at this point. I think Kelly made a great point. When you look at all of the rescues that are currently taking in dogs and cats from Detroit, we're able to save nearly all of them. And if we can do it, Detroit Animal Control can do it too. So we're hopeful. They're inviting these rescues and these groups in to talk about it and see what can be done.
All right, and we've got 15 seconds left, Chief White, so I just want to ask you to clear the air on this microchipping that we've talked about, a micro-scanning, I should say. You had mentioned that you are doing that. Is that correct? Because we had heard earlier reports that you were not.
That is correct.
Micro-scanning is going on.
That is correct. We are, in fact, micro-scanning every animal that comes into contact with Detroit Animal Control. It's part of the protocol when they come in 100% of the time. We document the fact that we've scanned these animals, and if it's possible to contact the owner for pickup, we do in fact contact the owner.
All right, Assistant Chief James White, we thank you. Courtney Protz-Sanders and Kelly Labonte, thank you all for joining in this discussion, and we hope that everybody gets to find themselves someplace where everybody's happy with this.
Thank you.